So in the last lecture, we edited our data source configuration so that whenever we start the application, it can find an actual data source to connect to since we have MySQL dependency in our POM file. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and run the application and then access it through the browser. So you can go to the main file, which is the support portal application file, and you can click on here on this little green arrow. It will start it. You can right click and then go to run application, or you can just go up here and then click on this, the same arrow, this, and then it will still run the application. So I'm just gonna click on that. And you can see down here, it's gonna start building everything and it's gonna launch the application. So let's just wait for that to come up. And here it is. Make it a little bigger. Here's the Spring logo. And starting, it should be really quick. And as you can see, you already see the Hibernate queries being fired. It's creating the table user, which is what we specify. If you remember in the user class, we specified the entity here. So as you can see, this is a very nice logo for this IntelliJ IDE. It shows you that this is going to be part of a table in a database. And you can see here, it creates the table with all the specified values for the table. And here is Spring Security into action. So if we try to access the application, it's gonna stop us because of security. It's gonna say, hey, you're not authenticated, because we have the security dependency and we will need this password to access it. So I'm just gonna highlight all of this and then copy it. And the application is up and it takes 9.6515 seconds. All right, so let's open my browser. And let's go to, you remember we changed the port, so that's going to be localhost 8081. And we don't need to go to anything, we can just go to the root and then click enter. And you can see here, Spring Security kicks in and it's stopping us, say, hey, you need to be authenticated. So we can just put the default user, and I'm just going to paste this password in here and then click sign in. And as you can see, it just gives us the default, because we don't have any mapping to the root access to the root URL. So it just give us this default, say, hey, there's no mapping for this. So now we know the application is running. Let's just quickly return something just so we know that everything is working fine. So I'm gonna go back to the main package, and then I'm just gonna right click on it and then create another package, and that's gonna be the package for our resource. So I'm just gonna call it resource, and usually call it resource and not controller when it's a REST application, because it's a resource. That's just the name they usually, a standard name they have for it. They call it resource. So if this wasn't like a RESTful application, that would probably be a controller. But in this case, it's going to be resource. So in the resource, we can just create a user resource. So that's going to be a new class. And I'm just going to call it user resource. Of course, that class needs to be annotated with REST controller. So REST controller. And I'm going to give it a default path. And for that, I need to specify the mapping for it. So I'm going to do request mapping, and here I want to specify the value for this. So I can do value, and then the initial, the default for this mapping is going to be /user. Okay, so anything in this class, if you want to access it, you're gonna have to go through whatever the base URL is, /user, and then / whatever it is you're connecting to. So for instance, if I want to return like some string, for instance, right? So I can create another method. Let's do public that's gonna return like a user. So user, so that's gonna come from our user. Show user. That's just a dummy thing I'm doing just so I can show you something on the screen. So let's make this return no user. and let's just do this. So it's gonna return some empty user. I don't know if this is gonna work, so let's see. If we put get mapping, get mapping, and we want to go to, let's make this user again, so / user. Let's just return, let's make this return some string instead, because this is gonna be empty in the request body, so there will be nothing to show. So, and let's just return application work, for instance, application. Okay, so what we're doing here in the user resource, we're specifying that it's a REST controller, so it's going to be a REST resource, and then we are specifying that the everything here should be prefixed with user. So for instance, if the base URL is like I don't know, www.support portal, so after that, which is the base URL, it's gonna be /user, and then everything else will fall under this. So just to make it clear, I'm gonna change this from user to let's say home. Okay, so let's say this is the home page for under user. So I'm just gonna go ahead and restart this and let it come up. Okay, so it restarted, and I need to grab this again, and just gonna copy it. So now we have to go to /user/home. So back to the browser. So localhost 8081 /user/home, and enter. We need to put in the password, so user, and then paste the password that we copied, enter, and you can see application works. Now we're returning this this simple string. Okay, so so now we're good. We know the application is working, everything is fine. Now we're just gonna go ahead and get into the security aspect of it, and then start working on the security part.